In this video, I'll give you a summary of the Cars trilogy, definitely one of Disney and Pixar's best. If you're a fan of the movie and love Lightning McQueen and the gang from Radiator Springs, hit that like button because this video deserves it. Let's dive in. Starting with Cars 1, the film introduces a super confident race car named Lightning McQueen. Right off the bat, it's the Piston Cup finals, one of the most famous races out there. Here, we meet a sneaky car called Chick Hicks, who's always finishing second. Chick causes a massive accident on the track to keep McQueen behind, but McQueen dodges it and even takes flight. Our guy McQueen is an amazing racer, but pretty hot-headed. Since he didn't change his tires, he ends up tying the race with the King, Strip Weathers, and Chick Hicks. So, a tiebreaker race is set for California the next week to determine the winner and who'll get the Dinoco sponsorship. McQueen and his truck Mac hit the road, and it's a long drive. Mac's exhausted and wants to rest, but McQueen pushes him to drive all night to get there on time. Mac eventually nods off while McQueen's asleep too, leaving them both vulnerable on the road. A group of prankster cars rolls up, pushing Mac further into sleep and even shifting him off course. McQueen accidentally slips out of the trailer, ending up alone on the road while still half asleep. He wakes up and frantically searches for Mac, but can't find him anywhere. McQueen is lost. He eventually stumbles upon a tiny town called Radiator Springs and speeds through it so fast that the sheriff takes off after him. McQueen's escape damages the whole town, leaving a big mess and tearing up the entire road. Meanwhile, Mac arrives at the race alone, leaving everyone in a frenzy over McQueen's disappearance. Back in Radiator Springs, McQueen lands in court, where everyone is furious at him for the damage. He's about to be let off by Doc Hudson, but a lady named Sally persuades him to fix the road he ruined. Doc Hudson sees McQueen's arrogance and challenges him to a race, thinking he's got it in the bag. McQueen ends up face first in some cacti. As he repairs the road, he starts bonding with the Radiator Springs folks and even sparks a little romance with Sally. McQueen learns that Doc Hudson was actually the fabulous Hudson Hornet, a legendary three-time Piston Cup champion. Though he asks for racing advice, Doc, who wants nothing to do with his past, is annoyed. Later, McQueen spots Doc racing solo and sees he's still got it. When asked why he quit, Doc shares the story of a devastating crash and how his career ended after that. Before leaving, McQueen buys something from each local shop, making everyone happy. Suddenly, the media, paparazzi, and Mac show up to take him back. The Radiator Springs crew is sad to see him go, and it turns out Doc Hudson himself called them to come find him. The entire country tuned in for the race of the century. McQueen was feeling down, but when he saw Doc Hudson as his crew chief and most of the Radiator Springs crew there, he was overjoyed. He sped up like a jet, aiming for victory. The race went well until Chick Hicks, frustrated about losing again, caused the King, Strip Weathers, to crash dramatically. McQueen was set to win, but he stopped right at the finish line to help the King complete his final race. Every time I watch this scene, I feel moved and get chills. It's one of the most emotional moments in animated films for me. Everyone celebrates McQueen's selfless act, completely ignoring that Chick Hicks won. Tex, the owner of Dinoco, offers McQueen the role of the new Dinoco face. Finally, McQueen's dream was coming true. However, he turns it down to stay with the cars who first gave him a chance and taught him so much. Speaking of Dinoco, after this video, click on this card to get the full Dinoco story. I bet there are things about Dinoco you didn't know. Check it out. Radiator Springs regains its fame, attracting tons of visitors. The prankster cars who messed with Mac at the beginning are arrested. Doc Hudson gets his own museum. Strip Weathers returns in good shape, and he says that Doc was his inspiration. Cars 2! Many fans see this as a crazy mater adventure, a side story in the Cars saga, but it's still a good movie. It starts with a spy named Finn McMissile sneaking into an offshore oil rig owned by some really bad guys. He discovers his friend Leland Turbo has been crushed into scrap. Then we get an epic chase scene. In Radiator Springs, McQueen and Mater reunite, and we learn that Doc has sadly passed away. Now, the Piston Cup bears Doc's name. Soon, a new race, the World Grand Prix, organized by Miles Axelrod, is introduced. Miles invented a new fuel called Alanol and wants to prove it's better than gasoline. Then we meet a car who's even more full of himself than McQueen, Francesco, an Italian race car who challenges McQueen to join the race. McQueen accepts, and the race is split into 3 stages: Japan, England, and Italy. Finn McMissile and Holly Shiftwell attend the race's opening gala, the same place where McQueen and his team car. The two spies are waiting for an undercover American agent, Rod Redline, who gets ambushed by the villain's goons in the bathroom. Mater is there too, and in the chaos, Rod plants his tracker on Mater. Holly then mistakes Mater for the American spy, and he unwittingly gets pulled into the mission. Rod Redline, meanwhile, is captured and tortured to the end. Guys, there are some traumatic deleted scenes in Cars 2 that even show moments with Rod Redline and Leland Turbo. What happened for him to end up so crushed? Once this video is over, click on this card to check it out. The first race in Tokyo happens, and McQueen performs as great as ever. But the henchmen start blowing up the engines of some racers, sending them in Mater's direction. He starts chatting with Holly, and McQueen thinks it's directed at him, which causes a big problem, leading McQueen to lose the race. The two argue, and Mater decides to leave. Along the way, he meets the agents again, leading to another action scene. They head to Italy, where McQueen doesn't show up for about 15 minutes of the movie, leaving the spotlight to Mater and the spies. The trio learns information about a strange, suspicious car engine. The second race, this time in Italy, begins, and McQueen feels sad that Mater isn't there, while Francesco shows off again. Meanwhile, Mater goes undercover in a casino to uncover the full plan of the bad guys. During the villains' meeting, they blow up more race cars' engines. The spies track the explosions, but Finn McMissile is captured. The bad cars celebrate as Axelrod announces that cars won't be forced to use Alanol anymore, which is exactly what the professor and his gang wanted. But McQueen gives an interview stating he'll keep using Alanol, making him their next target. Mater's cover is blown, creating chaos in the room. He escapes and tries to warn McQueen, but can't reach him, and ends up getting kidnapped himself. It's pure madness. Mater, along with Finn and Holly, are taken to Big Ben. Mater manages to free himself and goes to save McQueen. He thinks there's a bomb in McQueen's pit stop, but it's actually on Mater. McQueen reunites with Mater, who tries to explain about the bomb, creating a chaotic scene on the track. Finn chases the professor, while Holly goes after Mater. With everyone surrounded, Radiator Springs shows up to save the day. Mater and McQueen head to the Queen to reveal everything they've uncovered. He exposes the true culprit, the creator of Alanol himself. Everything ends well as Mater is knighted as Sir Tow Mater by the Queen, and the race wraps up back in Radiator Springs. Cars 3 kicks off with McQueen competing in a series of races. We see him winning, losing, and staying enthusiastic. But then a rookie named Jackson Storm arrives, surpassing everyone and winning. Chick Hicks has retired and become a sports commentator. Many racers start retiring because of this. McQueen refuses to consider it, but during one race, he loses control and suffers a major crash. Afterward, he heads back to Radiator Springs to recover. And just when everyone thought he was going to give up racing and retire for good, McQueen relieved everyone by saying he would keep hitting the tracks. We find out that the Rustys brothers sold the company to Sterling, who built a high-tech training center where McQueen would train with top-of-the-line equipment. In this center, he meets Cruz Ramirez, the best trainer there, who's assigned to train McQueen. They train hard, using state-of-the-art equipment and advanced technology, all to make Lightning McQueen faster than Jackson Storm. But soon, we discover the truth about Sterling, who actually wants McQueen to retire and just sell products under his brand. But Lightning wants none of that. He wants to race and get back on the track. So they make a bet. If McQueen loses the race, he'll retire. But if he wins, he'll decide when he wants to stop. They head to a race called Thunder Hollow. McQueen goes in disguise, so no one will know it's him. But the race isn't what they expected. It's a demolition derby. Cruz Ramirez wins the race, and McQueen's cover is blown. Cruz and McQueen argue because he needs to make up for lost time and win. And during a video call, Mater accidentally gives McQueen an idea. Find the car that taught and trained Doc Hudson. McQueen then apologizes to Cruz, and they're back on good terms. Finally, they meet Smokey, Doc's old trainer, and they start training hard. The final race begins, and McQueen is doing really well. But he overhears a conversation between Cruz and Sterling, which makes him pretty sad. At the first pit stop, McQueen switches places with Cruz Ramirez. He wants to give her a chance to show she's a real, amazing racer. So she takes over, racing hard. Cruz Ramirez even taunts Storm, who gets furious, and she wins in an epic way. Plus, Cruz Ramirez becomes the new face of Dinoco, and the Great McQueen is now the fabulous Lightning McQueen, in tribute to Doc Hudson. Rusty's, which belonged to Sterling, was bought by Tex from Dinoco, meaning Tex now owns everything. Which of the three films is your favorite? Cars 1, Cars 2, or Cars 3? Write it below! Speaking of cars, if you love this Pixar franchise, marathon this playlist I made just for you. Thanks so much for watching till the end, and see you in the next video here on Cine Lovers.